Hi guys, welcome back. I'm Ginny and this is the big sew along. Today we are sewing a brand new pattern from an Etsy designer that I've sewn before. This designer's name I believe is pronounced Aura Guignard. It's a French last name, so I could be butchering that. Anyway, I will leave a link to her shop below. It's an Etsy shop. I don't know if I just said that. I don't know if you guys will remember back in the fall, I made her daisy dress and tunic. It's actually one of my favorite garments. I wear that all the time. Today, we are sewing a brand new pair of pants that have just come out. The pants are called the Sahara pants. And what can we say about these pants? First of all, there's a pocket. There's a center front piece that goes across the whole width of the front. There are two lower leg panel pieces that attach to that, and then there are two back pieces. So there's some draping in the leg, which is really cool. It looks awesome. It looks awesome on. I love it. But it is a little bit confusing putting that together. It's not difficult. And hopefully you'll be able to, hopefully this tutorial we're going to do today will make it easier for you. Okay, so sizing goes from extra small to 3XL. The hip sizes in centimeters are 90 centimeters to 156 centimeters, or 36 inches to 62 inches. The first time I made this, I did a muslin, and I used the size small, which fit me. It was fine, but I prefer my pants to be a little bit baggier, so the end one that I finished that we sewed today in our tutorial is actually a medium, and you'll see that one on me later in some pictures, and you can see how that fits. And just for frame of reference, my hips are 39 inches. So woven fabric is recommended. And you'll also need waist elastic, and I think that's it. I mean, I don't think there's anything else you need for this. So for my muslin, I just used like an old sheet. It was fine. It was cotton, so it was a little too crisp for this, I think. It didn't have any drape, and you really want that in this pattern. For the pair that we're going to sew today, I used what I thought originally was 100% linen. It's actually a linen cotton. So again, it has pretty good drape, but if I was going to do it again, I would either do it in 100% linen, or I would do it in, I think this would be beautiful in a wool crepe. It could be done in really any bottom weight fabric, but I feel like you'll see again in the pictures, the drape I think is probably a little bit nicer in a fabric that just has more drape. So just keep that in mind. Okay, with that said, we'll get over to our tutorial. It's not a long one today because there aren't a ton of steps. So let's get to it. The pieces for our Sahara pants should be this piece, which is the center front piece. We're going to cut one of these, and this is the fold. This is obviously not a fold. Now the only thing is about this particular pattern is these little lines here are notches, so don't ignore them. Be sure you make all of those notches on all the pieces. It's really important for when we put this together. Also, on the front piece, you're going to want to mark one way or another just where you want your pocket placement. Piece number 2 looks like this. And I'm hoping I can get this whole thing in the camera. Let's see. I'm just going to slide it so you can see. So this is one end, and you'll see this little funky like flower shaped thing here. I did not draw this whole thing out, and I don't feel like you need to, but I would put a notch. There's just like a dot here. I put a notch on both sides, like one right here where there is a notch, and one more right here where there's a little X. You'll also notice along this long edge here, more notches. Just be sure you get all of those because it's really important for putting these together. Okay, on this end, you're going to have something that looks like a funky crotch curve. And that's actually what it is. Just so I didn't get confused, I marked my pattern piece with a front and a back. This flatter corner is the front, this pointier corner is the back. It's easy to remember, the front is the one with the notches on it, but just so you don't get mixed up when you're putting things together, I found it helpful to mark. And so when I put my pattern together, I put a pin on the back, and I just put it through one piece because in a minute we're going to sew these two together and they'll be attached. Okay, piece number 3 looks like more or less like the standard back piece of a pant pattern, but again, really important to make sure you catch these notches. I think on this piece there's only the one, but there are these sort of like crosswise marks along the the stitching line. Piece number 4 is the pocket piece. Looks like this. So I put little notches right here on the edge of my cut pattern. You can see, so I would know where to fold it. It's just easier. So it looks like this. We're just going to finish this edge. We're going to fold this to the front of the pocket, the outside of the pocket. And you're going to sew this down, just this portion right here, 3/8 of an inch on both sides. Then you're going to clip those corners. And then this is just a trick I use whenever I have a patch pocket that's got a curve in it. I tried to show this in one of the other tutorials and I just didn't do a very good job. So I start a basting stitch right here, right under the top edge of the pocket, and I line it up with the stitching that we just did. So it's 3/8 of an inch and it's a basting stitch all the way around. Now if you just grab one of the threads from that basting stitch and give it a little tug, this is the front side of our pocket here. If you just give that a little bit of a tug and pull that down a little, it will make that edge curve under really nicely. So you don't need any gathering along this edge or really even along the bottom. It's just right here at the corner. And just barely. You don't want it to like wrinkle. You just want it to curve up a little bit like that. And then do the same thing on the other side. Just so you get like a little sort of like a lettuce edge effect on those corners. And you can just straighten it out a little bit in the middle. That looks just about right, just like that. Okay, I'm gonna kind of flip those to the back. Now this is the oops, no, I had that wrong. This is the front of our pocket. We're gonna flip this little flap that we made over to the back. And we're going to poke those out a little bit. Again, no point turner in here. Okay, like that. Then we're going to press this down, and we're going to press this whole edge down, and it should press pretty easily right along that line of basting stitches. And you'll see that when you get to these corners, it'll just be a lot easier for you to get that stuff to lay flat and have a nice even curved edge around the corners. So do that to both pockets. So there we have our pockets. And I forgot to say, you guys, before you do all this stuff, you're going to want to finish all the edges on your pocket because these are unlined pockets. Okay, next up, we're going to take our front piece, and it looks like this. And we should have our pocket placement marked on there. Get that out of the way. So those are the marks for my pocket. Hopefully you can see that. White on white, not very helpful. So we're just going to put our pockets on here, match them up to those points, make sure they're straight, pin them around, and then just edge stitch this pocket on all the way around, both sides. This is what we look like so far. Our top front piece, 2 pockets. I also put a little, I don't think there is one on the pattern piece, but I did put a little notch in my center front. That'll be helpful later also. Okay, next we're going to take the front lower piece, the one with this funky corner thing on it, and we're just going to leave it exactly as is. All we're going to do right now is sew this seam from here to here with our 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then finish that edge and press it. So this is what that looks like when we're finished doing that. That's a crotch piece that we just sewed, and I serged mine. It does say press it open, but I just pressed mine to one side because I serged it together. Okay, now we're going to open this up. This is the right side of our fabric, and remember, this is the back of our pant with the pointier edge where we put our pin. So just get this out of the way for a minute. You're going to take this piece, the upper front, and it looks like this. The easiest way to do this, we're going to put this piece in here. So the easiest way to do this, I think, is to turn this upside down. Then we're going to take this piece that we just put aside. This is the front. We're going to line that front seam right up with this center crotch on this piece right there. And we're going to pin that in place. Then we're going to work around this way. And the first thing we're going to do is just match up our notches. So here's a notch here. My next notch here is right here. Just going to match those up and pin them in place. Now, you're going to have some weird things going on here. First of all, you're going to have this big extra piece. It's a big triangle. Just ignore that. It's fine. That should be there. You have this curve here where you need this to lay flat. Now, you have your notches pinned, so you know that that's where that sits. Now, when you go to pin this in, you may just need to put some more slits along this edge where it's a straight piece going around a curve. You might not. I mean, I think that my fabric is actually probably stretchy enough that it'll fit right in there. But if you have to put an extra couple of notches in here, it's fine. Just do that after you match up the notches on the pattern. Okay, and now just go over to the other side and do the same thing. Just start by matching your notches. And working your way around. And actually, you'll see that there's a notch on this piece right where this piece ends. That should line up with your notch. I don't think I could see that on the other side. All we're going to do next is we're going to go to our sewing machine and we're going to sew this whole thing. We're just going to start here and go all the way around here. Whoops, I need a couple more pins in there. Anyway, through here, through the crotch, all the way down here to this side. And when you get to this side, you're going to stop and finish that raw edge the whole way, all the way up to here. Just finish it. And I would press this part, this seam, I press down towards the crotch on this. Now you're going to have something that looks really kooky. This is the front. This is the piece we just put in. We can get rid of this pin now because we know that's the back. Now on both of the sides, you're going to have something that looks like this. This curve here, your pocket is up here, and you're going to have this wacky triangle thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this triangle in half like this, and it really should, you can see there's my notch, it matches up with this notch over here, and then that whole thing is going to get flipped back up like that. Okay? So you've really just made like a big pleat in there. I'm going to pin this down, and then I'm going to show you again on the other side. You can also see your the top of your point. Mine's coming a little bit further than that, but that's roughly where your point, there's a notch where the point of your triangle should end up too. So I'm just going to pin that down. I'm going to pin the other side down. And then I'm going to baste this piece just from here to here. All right, let's look at the other side. So here's our big curve. Here's our triangle. We're going to fold the triangle in half. Here's our notch. Here's our other notch. Hopefully. And then we're going to flip that under and to the top. So the triangle piece that you just folded is coming upwards towards the top of the pant. And again, the top of your triangle should really be pretty much right where that notch is. And then just pin it down. You're going to be pinning through 3 layers. The front of the pant and 2 pieces of your triangle. And you'll see the fold, this fold of your triangle is going to be really right where this seam line is. Okay, now we're just going to go baste those 2 pieces. We're going to baste that side together and baste the other side together. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our back piece, which looks like this, and we're just going to sew our 3/8 inch seam allowance along the crotch, the back crotch, and then we're going to finish that seam and press it. At this point, our pants should look something like this. So this is the left side. That's our crotch that looks really weird. And then our right side is over here. Okay? This is the right side up. Ignore all these weirdo, ruffly things going on here. And let's just focus on this. We're going to take this side. We should also have the back of our pant put together now, right? So we're going to put this right sides together. The right side of our back against the right side of our front. We're just going to start at the top and pin all the way down to the bottom. We're going to stitch that together with our 3/8 inch seam allowance, and then we're going to turn it over and do the other side. We're going to stitch this side of the back to the other side of the front. The only thing is, you guys, this front piece with the pleat in it has a lot of bias in it. So just be careful that you're not stretching this as you go, because it won't fit into the back piece if you do. All right, we've got that pinned in. Let's sew both of those side seams with our 3/8 inch seam allowance, and then finish those seams and press them towards the back. So here we have our pants inside out. This is the front. And like I said, they're inside out. The last main piece of construction we have is just to sew this crotch seam. So I'm going to turn this over. Obviously this is the back now. You're just going to line your front and your back seam up. And you will see when you do this, you're going to have this little bitty tail sticking out from the front piece. You can just cut that off. It'll get cut off in serging if you're going to serge, but it doesn't matter. You don't need it, obviously. Okay, now one of these, the front leg has a lot more volume than the back leg. So just be careful that you're going to get it to fit in there properly, because again, it's cut on the bias, where the back leg has bias too, but not nearly as much. You can see how that looks. So what I did was I just sort of found the center like this, and then I just continued to go halfway between the pins on either side until I get the whole thing in there. And it does fit. It's a little tricky. But you can see it fits. Okay, now just do the same thing on the other side, the other leg, and then you're just going to sew this crotch seam from one ankle up through the crotch and down to the other side. And then press that whole seam towards the, finish that seam, and then press it towards the back. And then we will talk about our hems. To finish up our Sahara pants, all we have left to do is our waistband and our hems. On the waistband, she gives you 1 3/4 of an inch to fold over. I felt like that was too much for me because this just didn't come up, the waistband then didn't come up high enough. So I'm actually just going to search this top edge and fold it over 1 1/4 inches. But just check to see where you want that waistband to be, because you may want it to go down 1 3/4 inches. So you're just going to finish your edge, sew that down, leave an opening for the case to make that a casing, and put your elastic in. Or, as always, you can check my other pant video where I show my preferred method for putting in an elastic waistband. I will link that below. For the hems, we're going to fold them up. The hem allowance is 1 1/16 of an inch, but again, try them on and see where you want your hem to land. Just so you know, all you're going to do is finish that edge however you want and fold it up to your preferred length. Now, the only thing is, if you have to make it shorter than this, it's going to get a little tricky because the hem is uneven. You have a bias here, and this portion here is going to get uneven, and it's going to be hard to fold that up. So you may need to cut some off of the bottom before you fold it up, is all I'm saying. Also, just be aware that this does have an uneven hem. This big drape that we have in here is going to make your pant leg fall down on the outside like that. And it's meant to be that way. So just so you know, I'm just going to fold mine up. I'm going to serge my edge and then fold it up and stitch it down at 1 inch. And I think we'll be good. Okay, so that is our Sahara pants. I hope you guys give these a shot. It's a very cool pattern, and it's really fun. It was really fun to make this. Okay, the other things she has, let's see, she has 1, 2, 3 other pairs of pants in her Etsy shop. She has the Daisy, which we talked about before. She also has a dress called the Rainbow Dress, which I have not made yet, but I would very much like to. Check out her shop. She has some very cool patterns, and I think you'll really enjoy them. I will leave a link, obviously, to her Etsy shop down below. Okay. Now, for next week, we are going to be starting some Diane Erickson patterns. The first one we're going to do is the French fold shrug. I always mess that up. French fold shrug. We're going to do just the basic French fold shrug next week, and then the following week we're going to do some variations on that, and then after that we are going to do Diane Erickson's River Tunic. So there'll be 3 weeks of Diane Erickson. The first 2 are going to be the French fold shrug, and then the third one will be the River Tunic. I will leave a link to Diane's shop below, but just a little sneak here, I am not 100% sure, but I think we're going to get a coupon code from Diane. So if you don't already have these patterns, but you're interested in buying them, maybe wait until next week's video and see if we get a coupon. And what else? I neglected to do a Friday Sews video last week just because I ran out of time. But I have one for you for this week, which will be up tomorrow sometime. I hope you guys will tune in and take a look. I have some fun things to talk about. I have some new fabric and some new patterns, and no new lipstick. So tune in tomorrow if you have time. All right, thanks guys.